Hitoshi Shinsou simply wanted to leave the desk after filing away the last of his reports, following the influx of funds generated by the charity ball a few weeks back. Surprisingly, many had helped support the Exegol agency, despite the larger well-known agencies taking in more for their name and prestige. Still, it made for a stronger foundation to get on top of the overhaul situation, one that he was told to take a proper Christmas break to start afresh in the new year, with hope that nothing else would come from it. He eyed his phone, noticing the name that appeared on his screen, which in turn piqued his curiosity. Packing things down on his desk, he collected his phone, answering with a sigh from the long day he had.
What are you doing calling me?
He asked immediately, half exhausted yet also playful in his own way.
Someone wanted to say hi,
spoke Eri on the other line, the sound of the phone shuffling in her hand before it felt like it was gripped by another's.
Hi!
Chirped a young voice, the boy's happiness untethered from the air between Shinsou's phone and ear.
Are you coming over today?
Shinsou couldn't help but smirk at the sound of Sana's voice on the phone while he sorted out the last of his paperwork on his desk, standing from his chair to leave.
Yeah, your dad said you'd be happy to see me,
he replied, earning a cheerful affirmation from the boy. It was odd to feel revered, but Sana Aizawa had become a part of his life as well as many others amongst the hero community. Somewhat a complete antithesis from his parents, which in turn, if he had to blame someone for this boy's upbringing, it was probably the young girl with the phone.
Aizawa wanted to know if you were okay with eggnog, seeing as he'll be making 2 kinds.
Asked Eri, now returning to the phone and conversation at hand.
That's not a problem,
answered Shinsou, already slipping into his large coat to brave the chill outside.
We won't be staying the night though, so no need to make plenty.
Thanks. That's a good help. Can I have eggnog?
Asked the boy in the background, loud enough for Shinsou to hear.
Only whichever your mom gives you.
Shinsou cracked another smile, waving farewell to a few co-workers and sidekicks in the agency before he exited into the cold, finding the evening to snow a little, adding to the chill. He saw his breath linger in the air, condensed by the warmth, before his phone rang with a tiny bell. A message, minor compared to the phone call he was on, but soon found that it came to an end.
We'll see you soon,
chirped Eri, before hearing a loud farewell from Sana over the phone.
Bye!
Same to you,
ended Shinsou before he immediately hung up. On screen was the earlier message, reading that it came from you, before he swiped it open to find the rest of it rather odd.
Can you do me a favor and buy watermelon?
Shinsou stood in the cold with feet planted in the thick powdered pavement of snow, confused by the request. It was winter, and watermelon in itself was difficult to come by, given that it was a seasonal fruit meant for summer.
I can try, but I doubt I'll find any.
A moment or two passed before he slipped his phone into his pocket, continuing on his way back to the apartment. Given the circumstances surrounding the commission now being out of commission, to say the least, he was well aware that you had spent your days at home. You had been put out of the job, unfortunately, but that alone didn't stop his agency from hiring your expertise now that these events aligned amongst the rest of the hero agencies as well. Still, the request was strange. Shinsou thought you would be more focused on preparing to make the trip for Christmas dinner with Aizawa, despite the man being a former homeroom teacher to both of you. He collected his phone once more from the sound of another notification. No doubt from you, except the query this time started to worry him.
Pickles then?
You hate pickles.
Ginger tea?
The back and forth grew shorter, but it only urged Shinsou to dial your number, bringing the phone to his ear while he still made his walk back to the apartment. For a while, he only heard the dial tone before you picked up with nothing but dead air on the other line.
What's going on?
Asked Shinsou, skeptical and yet worried about these strange messages.
I don't feel well.
You replied with a slight echo in your voice.
Do we have any crackers?
The sound of your voice made it seem like you were in the bathroom with that echo bouncing around. Shinsou came to a few conclusions, wondering about the state you must be in before he had to go straight to the crux of the conversation.
How unwell?
He asked dryly with a low hum from you in reply.
I'm just nauseous. It'll pass.
You slowly replied in an attempt to keep your voice level, despite the strain that was evident.
Do we have crackers?
Shinsou stopped in his tracks, standing in the middle of the pavement while people walked by. You didn't sound well. In fact, you sounded horrible. The notion that you were possibly sitting by a toilet bowl by yourself for who knew how long concerned him, soon making haste through the snow when he deliberated on his next decision.
I can call Aizawa and cancel tonight.
He offered, already set on making that decision on his own.
No, don't. I'll be fine with something in my tummy.
You insisted in an attempt to dissuade the plans already made.
Don't tell him.
The words echoed in Shinsou's mind, faint, but vivid in the sound of your voice. Odd, you were nowhere near him, not in sight of him, or vice versa for you to even connect with your mind. He wondered while he still kept pace. Surely it was his own mind hearing things.
Don't tell him you're...
Shinsou's feet suddenly halted in the middle of the pavement, having made his way to the corner of an intersection, still with phone in hand. However, he felt that he held his breath, shocked by the words he heard that echoed in his mind. It was your voice. He could hear it loud and clear, and the words that you uttered in his mind, whether you knew it or not, made his heart leap out of his chest and his blood almost boiled with trepidation.
I'm coming home.
He immediately spat, almost yelling in the phone before he made haste when the lights cleared him to cross.
What?
You moaned.
Stay where you are. Don't move.
Shinsou hardly breathed a goodbye before he hung up his phone, stuffing it into his pocket and continuing to dash faster down the street. He slipped a few times or so on the packed snow, knowing that he clearly didn't wear the correct shoes for a run down the street, but he needed to hurry. He felt the need to hurry. Who knew how long you had been in the bathroom? He thought. Out of breath and sweating through his thick clothes thanks to the winter chill, Shinsou made it to his apartment block, rushing into the foyer and pressing for the elevator to take him up. He eyed the floor numbers, finding that the elevator took longer than he liked to reach the ground floor, and opted to run up the flight of stairs instead. He hated the prospect of it, but he didn't think. He just ran, almost hopping a few steps at a time, in hopes he would reach his floor faster. With a crash, a bang, and a few missteps on his way, Shinsou almost galloped to his apartment door and quickly pulled out his keys to enter, now out of breath from the run and the climb up the stairs. A mule from Toka caught his ear, but his eyes were set on the bathroom, noticing the door was left open. He clambered towards it, while pulling his thick coat off his shoulders, peering inside to finally find you.
Kitten.
He called through exhausted breaths that stung his lungs from the cold air outside. He expected as much to see you draped over the toilet bowl with legs sprawled on the floor, yet he was cautious about the state of your health, wondering if you were truly okay. Those thoughts of his were soon exacerbated when you slowly reached your hand out towards the sink nearby, collecting something from its counter before holding it up above you in the air, as if in defeat or surrender. It was undeniable now that he saw proof of what you had whispered into his mind during that phone call. There in your hand was a pregnancy test, held languidly due to your ailment and showing positive results.
I love you. You know that, right?
You uttered, turning your head from the toilet bowl and staring back at Shinsou with tired eyes, yet still trying to hold a weak smile. He wondered how long you had situated yourself in the bathroom, seeing how exhausted you looked, possibly from the nausea you had already admitted to. He slowly entered before he took the pregnancy test from your hands, eyeing the 2 bright lines that burned against the white. He raked his mind on all the questions. When? Where? And how? Soon concluding on all these questions with a heavy and disgruntled sigh. Without another word, he sat beside you, back to the vanity of the sink and mirror, while still staring at the results in his hands. Shinsou couldn't fathom the situation while your head still hovered over the toilet bowl, hand against your head to keep yourself upright. He was going to be a father.
We always jump ahead, huh?
He asked in hopes to fill the silence despite your ailing circumstances.
Always.
You whispered, tired and unable to keep your eyes open. Shinsou gazed at your exhaustion, still wondering how long you had been sitting by the toilet today. If he recalled, you were fine this morning, perhaps a little anxious about something, but he had put it down to you being understimulated with very little work after the charity ball. The thought only made him grumble a little until another dry heave escaped your throat. Who knew you had a weak constitution? While your head still hovered over the bowl, with nothing to show for your nausea, Shinsou slowly picked up his phone from his pocket, eyeing the device and contemplating his next course of action. Of course, he had to cancel Christmas dinner with Aizawa for a start. It wasn't the first set of invitations he had to decline, recalling Midoriya's get-together last and missing out on the celebrations after learning he had proposed to his now fiancée. However, he sat on the decision to make another call first, scrolling through the names before he went forward with pressing the speed dial. A moment of the dial tone rang through his ear before a familiar voice greeted him on the other line.
Kaminari, think you can come over?
He asked solemnly while his eyes laid back onto you, holding yourself up from the toilet seat.
I need, help.